And welcome back to Great Day Washington. The movie set shooting involving actor Alec Baldwin is developing into this huge story, but who would be liable if anyone, and could there be criminal charges? To answer these and other questions of responsibility, we have a wrongful death and liability attorney, Richard Bell, here with us live. Richard, how are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Great. So, Richard, let's break it down. So, I know you have what the civil, you have the criminal. You've heard, I guess, just like us, how this story is developing. Break it down for us. Who's going to be liable? Will the actor, Alec Baldwin, specifically be liable? How does this normally work?
Okay, sure. So there's really going to be three investigations eventually done here. The first one, of course, is the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department looking at potential criminal acts. You're going to have OSHA coming in because there's a federal workplace safety obligation when there's a workplace death. And then eventually there'll be a wrongful death personal injury attorney representing Ms. Hutchins' family who will conduct their own investigation, do depositions, maybe even have a trial. So there's going to basically be two tracks, the potential criminal track and the potential civil liability track.
And so I think, when you talk about the headlines, I guess because obviously he's a famous actor, Alec Baldwin is in the headlines every time we talk about this story. But is there a chance that he will be sued? In these cases, normally, he would either be the focus or would it be more company wide?
Okay, so for the civil liability, the wrongful death action, pain and suffering action, he is a potential defendant in that action, not as the actor most likely, but as a producer. He may have had some role in the safety and production aspect of it, as would be the armorer, the person who's the gun safety person in charge, the assistant director who allegedly handed him the weapon, and along the chain of command of the production staff who are supposed to be following certain safety protocols for gun safety.
What's crazy about this? This happens. This is not the first occurrence. It happens. Are you surprised that even in this day and age where you can use different techniques and not have to use actually real weapons, are you surprised that this still is happening on sets?
I would be if it wasn't for the fact that the Associated Press, they did this study and they looked at movie sets, and they did it from 1990 to 2016. There were 43, at least 43 deaths and at least 150 life-threatening injuries. So this has been a problem on movie sets for a very long time. It's not like we just discovered this. And you brought up a great point. With technology, why are we even doing things that are so inherently dangerous? It's a very good question.
And Richard, these movies have insurance and things like that. So when you see these kind of cases, and especially I guess the civil side, does the insurance basically pay all of it? There becomes a judgment and someone has to pay. Is that the whole purpose of the insurance? Does it take care of it? Or oftentimes does the individual also have to kick in? Or how does that work?
Okay, extremely rarely does the individual have to kick in. There's going to be liability insurance for the film company, for the producers, for the armor. All of these people are going to have liability insurance. But what's interesting is, we get a little focused on the criminal aspect of it. That's highly unlikely because you'd have to prove involuntary manslaughter in New Mexico, and that's a high standard of some type of recklessness or criminal negligence. When you get to the civil liability part, now it's negligence, which just very simply is acting below the standard of care of a reasonable person under the same circumstances. So you have to look, first of all, who might it be? Well, Alec Baldwin as a producer would have to see what role he had on the production. But the armorer, like I said, and potentially the assistant director who hands the gun. And then you have the whole chain of command of production on the safety. And then you have to look at what are the potential acts of negligence. So what was the customary gun protocols for the props? Was it being followed? Was it being implemented? Was speed over safety one of the causes because of budget concerns? We just don't know that. And then there was a report yesterday, and I'm very cautious because these are just reports, they're not evidence. But there was a report yesterday there may have been prior accidental gun discharges on the set. Wow. The question would arise as to if that happened, with the producers then on some type of reasonable notice that there's something going wrong there with their safety protocols.
Wow, Richard, thank you so much for this great information. We're going to have you back. It's a developing story. We appreciate this insight. Again, thank you for joining us on Great Day Washington. Okay, we will keep you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. And of course, we're going to keep you informed on this story as it develops. Okay?